Hello everybody, welcome to another day of Cosmoteer. Today it is a shipbuilding. We need to do some engineering. So this is the ship that I'm currently flying around that needs to be modified. So what I've done here is I've made some significant changes because I'm now playing a Grand Admiral and missiles, they do a lot of damage. So the first thing I did for this little ship right here, see here, just it's designed very well. I like it. It's a good little 18-man crew. And right here, the changes that I made here is I just added two little extra boosters right here to give it even more strafing ability and more ability to move around. So this would probably be the very end design for the battleship type of, or the middle mini drone like damage one. Now what I changed into the next one is I went and I needed point defenses. I needed a little drone 18-man ship that could do point defenses. So the first version that I created here, so you see here I added a whole bunch of point defenses here, added point defenses here. Those defenses just stay the same right there. And it does very well in a sense, but it doesn't do as good as I wanted to do. So I wanted to utilize the entire crew. So what's missing, see here is using the entire crew. I got two heavy lasers, but two heavy lasers doesn't work good if they got shields or other things where you got to pound through them. So this one was that design right there, and then right here I changed it to be this design. I think this is going to be my more final design. Now I have one disruptor, and because I had one extra point I put that little defense right there. It looks a little off, but it does add up the entire one. And I changed the two boosters here to be facing backwards so that they go backwards, and I still have my strafing ability back here. Now this one right here I also made a change as well to crew dedication. So this little box right here goes to these two, so the heavy laser and disruptor, so that I still have a constant base of fire, because I changed up the role priorities significantly so that they all have priorities so that they actually move and do what they need to do. So point defenses is a 7, and that's a 7, as well as boosters. I changed all the boosters from 8 to 7, so that way they actually have a constant base of fire but still support the whole ship. So the first fighting against each other, it's not meant to fight against each other. For the main purpose to actually show how these actually play out is, for example, let's go to a ship that we're currently facing in the level 13 through 15 area. Is if I take one of these ships, and I want to showcase a couple of them because I'm going to build a couple of them when I actually build the game. So let's say, for example, let's get 4 of them. And then let's have some of my in-game ships, which is just my 1.64. And I take my 1.64 right here. And then we'll come over here, and the kind of ships that we're facing, or the type of ships that we're facing, is Cabal, Combat, Polaris. Now you can see right here, it's already 1,333,000 with 316 crew. But the thing about this ship right here, it's got a ton of missile launchers. And if it gets even close enough in it, it does a ton of damage. Now you see these guys right here, they're meant to, and you see either front or back, to cover and take out all these missiles, and to either help out and maybe start taking out some of these as well. See how they took out all the EMP? And you see right here, they're covering good, and this is how they would flank. They would cover all the sides, and then my main ships will actually come in to actually destroy it. Now without these little point defense guys, you see right here, they're constant base of fire, because if I change the priority, then I would only focus on point defenses. But I want to be able to do point defenses while also still being able to harass and do damage. That's how these guys are going to play out. Good point defenses, being able to surround and defend. And when you're playing on Grand Admiral, the missiles do so much damage, they can't be ignored. It's not something you can ignore. Now let me showcase how it plays out if I was not using these defense ships, and if I was just going in and I was just playing in with, for example, my normal, even if with a little tiny upgrade. We'll add a little upgrade with the little boosters for the final one, and I want to showcase how this works. And you'll see right here, even with 4 of these little guys and 2 of my main battleships, that this Polaris, because of how the missiles, and this is not on Grand Admiral by the way, this is just normal, you'll notice that these missiles will do a lot of damage. Now granted, these do have point defenses as well, but I didn't optimize them to be able to take on a whole lot. Granted, that battle didn't go as it normally would, where the Polaris can rip through and do a ton of damage. because if these guys are positioned correctly, they still do have point defenses. But these point defenses right here, they run out. They run out because I didn't design it to be a point defense ship. It was more like an alpha strike, hit in, and then once it runs out, it runs out. Now you see right here, these missiles are coming in, and they do devastating amount of damage on normal. This is not Grand Admiral, this is just normal damage. I see they already took out a mini ship, they'll take out more ships, and they just do, you see how he's doing tons and tons of damage. If I don't have enough point defenses to take out these missiles, then I can get devastated, and I can get rocked, and I can get destroyed very easily. So I need to change that up. So as you can see right here, and if you were to get 2 of these Polarises, which is exactly what happens here, so in gameplay, we're not fighting 1. We're fighting 2, or even 3 sometimes. If you take 2 of these guys, right, and you fight, because this is in gameplay, and you fight 2 of these guys on Grand Admiral, you can just watch to see how devastating amount of damage 2 of these guys can do to any of my guys. You can see right here, just focusing on one guy, it does devastating amount of damage. Even though I have little harassers, they're not doing their job to really harass and take out all the actual missiles. We're see here, 1v1, just rip me apart. Obviously I'm not flanking and turning and moving all those things, and this right here rips him apart. This is, in a Grand Admiral, 40% more damage. I do 30% less. So I had to change that up. I had to fix it. So let me show you the next thing that I changed as well. The next thing that I changed as well, and let me actually put on the ship, is I'll take my main ship right here, is I optimize it to be better for point defenses. Now the crew is more, see 124 crew, 840,000 compared to 820,000, but the changes they made are going to be significantly different. So you look right here, here's the original design. The original design, I have the point defenses up here, and it takes forever for these little point defense guys, because I have my role, point defense guys to run all the way up here and supply them, because I wasn't focused on the point defense part, I was just focused on the alpha strike. So I want to do the overall defense for it. So right here, 164.3, this right here has a much better design. So right here I have these right here, these little what are these called? Power capacitors? What are they called? I don't even remember what they're called. They're called, yeah, capacitor. So little power capacitors right there. What they do is, you can see right here, they're designed where they pull up and they're only supporting these point defenses. And this is only supporting these point defenses. Now the next part that I do as well is these crew right here. I give a 2-man crew for just point defense, and they are supplying just here, so they come here and they're going to support these point defenses for constant base of fire for defenses here. And then right here, down here, I've changed these to generator runners, and these 2 guys are going to pull power in and pull, and they're going to supply just the capacitors. And if they don't have the capacitors, they have other jobs to supply power to my factories that actually produce ammo for the sulfur. But these guys right here, these 2, 4, 6, 8 guys are only designated to only supply this section right here, and only for these point defenses. So here, let's watch to see how this actually plays out. So if you're watching right here, you'll see that as soon as they actually get into battle, when these point defenses start firing, these 2 guys run out and they start powering up just the point defense. See how they're powering up the point defenses? So when the point defenses are firing, they sit in the bunker, and when they're only ready, they get out and they support, so that my point defenses are constantly firing, getting rid of all these massive amount of missiles. Now this is just for its own ship. They still need supporting ships to actually help out, but now it's not as defenseless when it comes to missiles or other type of projectiles that are coming at them. Now on Grand Admiral, it's still 40% more damage. You do 30% less damage, but you can see right here, with giving them these little capacitors and allowing them to do it, my point defenses can now constantly be firing for the duration of the battle. Now these 2 upper ones right here can run out of power at some points, but you see how they're running. But these bottom ones that have 4, which are closer, which have a much more wider angle, this one has a very narrow angle, but this one has a wider angle to cover more, can help out. Now you see straight on, if the missiles are hitting you straight on from here, it doesn't stand a chance. So this is only if you have multiple of these guys and helping to flank from both sides. So those are the 2 significant changes that I made there. Let's go ahead and let's clear everything. And let me show you some more things that I did. Now, the other thing that I was having problems with is, and that's why there's these other weird designs, right here and this one right here. I'm not going to use them. I'm still thinking about it. They're just there to save as a diagram. What I needed here was I needed more speed, and so I was trying to figure out the exact amount of distance that I could put the booster and still face them certain ways so that they could turn. Now, obviously the back is fully exposed because I'm still working on that, so I don't actually decide to do that with that one. And then this one right here was another idea where if I put it out here and I put it in the middle and then I can cover this way and then I can have more coverage for defense in the back. That was another thing that I was thinking about. Now the speed wise is not bad, but you can see right here the design, and I'm always trying to keep it to just one large factory. I know you can put more factories and everything, but I'm trying to keep it down to just one ship, one factory to supply as much as I can. So these are just some goofy designs that I was just playing around with. I was like, not really. But those are other ships. Now, the other thing that I was also showing in the previous episode that I did was my, the Goshawk, or however you pronounce his name. Now, this is obviously definitely an in-game design that was taken from the Imperium. But what I want to showcase here is the significant changes that was made to... Actually, let me take the original design. Let's take the original Goshawk from Imperium, so you see where it's from. And you take the original Goshawk. Goshawk, or whatever you call it, okay? The original design's like this, okay? You can see it's very pointy, very jagged. This is a ramming ship. This ship is going to literally come in and try to ram another ship to take him out. See, and you notice that he comes up and he locks them in, and then they have this huge amount of shields and huge amount of structures to just take on. But the biggest problem about the ship is if you have missiles coming in from the side. You see this right here? There's no defense here, and there's no defense here. So once you sideswipe it or have another ship to come in from the side, this ship is totally wasted easily. But it has, you see how it has tons of defense in the front, large shields, and it's a very, very lasting ship. So that's the original actual Goshawk. So over here, now I'm going to come back over here and showcase what I've done to it. So I can see it's already at 2.1 and everything, because I probably may have gotten rid of a few of them. But I've made large and huge amount of changes to it. So based off the original, so you take over here, what I did over here was I changed it so I had armor on the side, and I changed up the engine room and the boosters to significantly different. So you notice that it's very different, where it has more defense, so it has more sustain. Now if you come over here and you look at this one, the second one right here, this one right here, you can see right here I needed more defense for this booster right here, so I added a defense right here while still giving him the ability to shoot out, and I was like, that might be a good idea, but didn't turn out as well. Still has a defense in the back. So those two ships are right there. Got rid of this too. And now we'll come over to the next two designs. Now the next design that I went up here is I changed it even more. Got a full amount of defense on the back to give it far more protection, so from missiles or other things. It doesn't have any point defenses. It's literally just a tanky armor. Now in the gameplay that I played before, when you take a ton of damage, obviously it costs a lot of... It's very expensive to repair with steel, I'm noticing. So I'm not liking this ship as much as I thought I would like it, because there's no instant repairs. You can see right here, this design right here is designed even more, where I take this and I fully curve it, giving it a full protection for this booster, giving it more protection for the side over there. And so the boosters are lined up like that. Now, this one was doing pretty good. And the nice thing about the Goshawk, and I'll showcase that after we get through all of these ones. I think we're on 2.14 and 2.15. This one right here, you can see a full... I can't even remember what I fully did with this one, but you can see it right there. And then I was, okay, maybe we need to do more armor on the side, more changes. So I added the boosters to do this one this way. And I was like, okay, maybe not. And then I have more of my final designs, 2.16 and 2.2 I think is actually not, it's more still to the original. Yeah, 2.2 is more to the original. 2.16 is more the final design. So this one right here, you can see there's two boosters in the front, giving it more slowing power. Had to change up this because I had to move everything out to get this. changed the armor right there, and changed the boosters some more, and changed up the outline for that one. And then this one right here, this 2.2 is more closer to the original design, but a little bit different. I added the armor, and then it took away some of the frontal armor to add away the point, because I didn't want it as a ramming ship, because this is more of a supporting heavy tanker. But what I really want to showcase here, because it was one of the first designs, 2.16, and if you take it against a Balistraria, it is one of the first few ships that I have found. You remember how I was saying under 500,000? Now the other Goshawks can also do it too, but a Goshawk can, in some cases, not every single time, take on a Balistraria, which to me was impressive. For a ship that has not so less crew and can take on and go head toe to toe with Balistraria, not many ships can do that. Now obviously I had to take on, that's why the side armor's there, because if the missiles are coming in, if you get side armor, side swipe, cannon gets destroyed on the original Goshawk, engine rooms get destroyed, so many other things can get destroyed. Now obviously if you're playing the Goshawk, you wouldn't just go straight on, you would probably flank or turn to the side or such. But you can see right here, it can take a one-on-one on a Goshawk for under 500,000 and under 100 crew. And you see it just tanked a ton of damage. It's also one of the first ships that I've had, once I've redesigned it, because the original Goshawk can't do this, is it can take on even one of my 4-cannon ships, which is even more expensive. Occasionally. The 4-cannon ship can still rip it apart sometimes, but occasionally, this 216, under 500,000, can even take on, because it can tank sometimes, depending on if the 4-cannon ship can get through their first burst. But this ship can take on one of my 4-cannon ships on a front-to-front battle. And obviously, this ship has maneuverability, can sideswipe and can turn sides and everything like that. And if you hit the Goshawk from the side here, are the weak points. But you see right here, it can tank all this damage. Sometimes, not all the time. But it can take on a 2-cannon ship, which I have found very impressive. But that's enough rant on that one. Now I'm going to show you another ship that I was working on as well, which is the Suhail. I'm pretty sure this is just the original. And then I started significantly modifying and changing this. So now this was another surprising ship. 300,000 with 46 crew. You would be surprised what a 36,000 with 46 crew can do when you modify it enough. So here, the original, you see right here, it just has 3 and it has these no back armor and it has all this damage right here and it has 6 heavy lasers with disruptors and it's got this funny looking armor in the front. Now over here, I made some minor changes, giving it more point defenses, because that was the whole objective of this particular ship, was to get rid of missiles and everything, and it did pretty well. But that's just the very first iteration of it. So let's go here and take away this 2, and let's go on to the next one. So the next 2 that we have is 1.1 and 1.2. So 1.1 and 1.2, when we look at these 2 ships right here, this is where I literally took on, I was like, okay, let me take my laser ships back and put it on there to give it a ton more defense and a ton more maneuverability. I was like, okay, this should definitely give the ship far more capability and still keep its cost low enough to crew it. So I put in the engine rooms, I put in these so to make it move faster and be able to strafe and move around. Now, one of the biggest downfalls of this particular ship as right now is I have no back thrusters. See right here, the reverse thrusters. But I was able to put in these disruptors right here, which can cover and add extra defense on top of the lasers for those particular reverse thrusters. Now, it doesn't have a lot of reverse thrust, but you can see right here, it has a ton of a tanking ability, and now I have a ton of movement, and I added a whole bunch more point defenses on this other iteration to go that way. That is 1.2. Now, that's 1.1. So, those are those 2 ships. Let me get rid of 1.1 and 1.2. So 1.3 and 1.4. 1.3 and 1.4. We go up these 2 ships. If we look at these two, you can see it. I made even more changes. Pretty sure I moved around a few things here for the bunkers. I decided to switch out a few things in right here. I changed the head armor. And right here I added more head armor, made it more round, so less the catching ability, to be able to tank on more things. Now I'm just going to skip over, because I know I have so many iterations of this, and just skip over to the final version that I went through. I know I went to 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, but my iterations, I went back to 1.53 because of the placement of the actual lasers. I'll show you 1.8, the difference to 1.53 is my final iteration of it. Now you see right here, the disruptors are still in the back. These are right here. And I face all the actual point defenses facing forward. Now, another thing you have to take into account is if you're editing a ship like this, you have to make sure that when you move things around, you also have to, if you want it to be dedicated nowadays, you have to reassign them anytime you move an object. And the other thing too as well is if you take right here the supply chain, same thing. If you move something, then it has to redistribute and redisplay. So keep that aware too. But I made significant changes. You can see already it's now 54 crew. And the cost of it as well is more, 425,000 instead of just a 300,000 one. But this is my final iteration where I smooth out the head, and so it can do so much more. Compared to 1.8, you can see right here, I was trying to figure out where the best place to put the disruptor and the mini laser, and I was moving it around. And also, all these point defenses are not facing forward, so I don't have that front facing forward point defenses. So those are that one. Now that I've showed case, you know, hit that till this and you're done. This ship right here can also, believe it or not, take on a Balistraria. Occasionally. Not every single time, but it can. Now this ship, which costs so much less, and doesn't have any projectile weapons, just a pure energy, you wouldn't think to take on a Balistraria. But it can. Occasionally. And not every time. Well, sometimes it will definitely, well, more than sometimes, it can definitely still lose. But you just watch it. It can tank it, and it can do what you wouldn't expect it to be able to do to take on a Balistraria with no ballistics. It is not a railgun ship. I have no missiles. I have no nukes. It's just a pure straight energy with 54 max crew. And it can go to toe with a Balistraria. That's when I was like, oh, that's impressive. But obviously I heavily modified. If you just take the stock ship the Suhail, and you try to find it, because the Balistraria will just rip it apart, because it has so many missiles and so many different ways to get behind. But you can see right here, with the modifications that I've made to this ship, it can take on a Balistraria. And not only can it take on a Balistraria, it can also take on some of my other ships. Sorry, I totally deleted that one off. Suhail 1.53. You take a Suhail 1.53, which obviously I've modified a ton. Now I can't take on my 6 cruise ship. But if I take my original 6 cannon, which is way less crew and everything, this ship, luckily, not every time, but sometimes, it can take on head toe-to-toe with this ship. Which, again, is pretty impressive, because this ship right here can tear apart a Balistraria, if you've seen some of my other videos. Where if it get toe-to-toe, or at least tank it for a couple hits, actually I think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it can't take on my 2 cannon ship. I can't remember exactly. You'll see this 2 cannon ship, the original design. Which, the more and more I look at it, it's more heavy laser, which actually I should probably put in my gameplay and showcase my 2 laser ship, my 2 cannon ship better. So, but they were designed in very specific ways. But this has been a very good support ship, because this is the step up from, or middle step between what I want to do for my laser ship, which is this one, which I've showcased. I need to totally revamp and change this one as well, but I'll get to that. But right now I'm mainly playing Cosmoteer Engage, Cosmoteer, No Pause Cosmoteer, Grand Admiral Engage. That's what I created playing. So I had to build ships and modify my ships to be able to take on. So, but I'll eventually build one of these ships. It has a lot of point defenses, but they're not optimized because I have no capacitors to help support them, and it has point defense in the front as well, no capacitors to support them as well. Same thing like this ship. I have no capacity to point-to-point defenses. It's just kind of what you call alpha strike. Come in, do as much damage as you can. And it does have good sustain because of it has the cannons and the ammo to last longer, but it's not designed as good as it is as all the ships that I am designing now. Again, thank you so much all for being here. This is the ship that I'm going to be using next, as well as I'm going to be changing to 16.43 with 124 crew. We're going to change that. This one now has a significant more design where you have these capacitors. I'm probably definitely going to use the Suhail. I'm going to probably get rid of that Goshawk. It doesn't have enough point defenses for the area I'm in. The Goshawk would probably been good from the beginning, but now that I'm in a level 13 to 15 area, I need to be able to take on a ton of projectiles, and I need a small little 18-man crew ones to be able to do what needs to be done. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for watching all my episodes. If you enjoyed my content, please smash the like button. Don't forget to leave a comment. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, tell me what you want to see next. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, that's okay as well. Come back once a week, once a month. Check out what content I have. Thank you all again for being here, and you all have a wonderful rest of your day.